This is the British Columbia Museum of Mining. It is located at Britannia Beach, about 50 kilometers north of Vancouver along the Sea to Sky Highway. It sits adjacent to the Howe Sound.
Britannia's mining history dates to the late 1880s, but actual mining began in 1904. And it was a small mine at the time and had one mill, a mill that was built on the hillside, not very close to over where our current museum exhibits are. Very quickly expanded from 200 tons of ore a day to 2,000 tons of ore a day with the building of mill number 2, which then burnt down, unfortunately, in 1819, I believe. And very quickly, the mining company of the day said, we must get a new mill, and that's when the third mill was built.
This is what remains of the third mill. Its primary function was to separate tailings or waste rock from the precious ore. This mill processed over 50 million tons of ore during its years of operation, and it's one of the few remaining gravity-fed mills in North America. Clausen explains why the remaining infrastructure and artifacts from this mill and mine site should be preserved.
In the 1920s, Britannia Beach was the largest copper mine in the British Commonwealth. Particularly important as you go into World War II, and that it was considered an important part of the Allied effort. It was well established. And because the mill was such a high technology when it was built, it was able to be that showcase for Canada in terms of a mine that people came to visit, and it had a strong reputation. That history lends itself today as to why it's important to keep the story alive.
And keeping that history alive is what the Britannia Project is all about. Clausen reminds us that the museum is over 35 years old and has done a tremendous job with its limited resources. But thanks to partnerships with the industry and the government, this site will be transformed into an innovative, interactive center that celebrates both the history and the future of mining.
You know, this is just such a spectacular site. There's about 4 acres of waterfront that we're looking at what other opportunities there are for reclamation. There's some issues we need to deal with there as well. But you know, what a great venue for 2010. There's literally going to be tens of thousands of vehicles traveling that corridor through that very special 2 weeks in 2010. And then of course the volume of traffic that travels there from the international world on a regular basis.
We foresee the Britannia project not just community-based, and that is a very strong component of us, because the museum is the keeper of the history of this fantastic community, which is very typical of many communities in British Columbia, in Canada, North America, and beyond. Very informative, very entertaining, very educational to the public at large, not just locally, the greater mainland, lower mainland, Canadians, North Americans, international tourism. We have guests that come from all over the world, very interested in the history, in the mine itself, and also in what we're working towards as far as the research, the innovation, the sustainability. And I think we have an opportunity to use this venue and this history to serve a much greater purpose in educating the people worldwide.
Germain explains how the focal point to this project will be a new visitor center that focuses on research and innovation. He adds the museum will also continue to be developed into a more hands-on or interactive facility that will be more engaging for children. He believes facts speak to the mind and stories speak to the heart.
So our intent with the museum is to put our guests more in the minds of the people that lived in the community, that worked in the mine, that supported the operation, etc. Because then we get the emotional attachment, which is very important. And with children, we want to stimulate imagination, and from imagination we get creativity. So for the older generations, it's a reminder of what we have, and why we have it.